This video will guide you through creating and submitting an Earnings Adjustment Statement (EAS) for the 2018-2019 funding year. The EAS is available to all providers, but you only need to submit an Earnings Adjustment Statement file if you have funding to claim that cannot be claimed on the ILR. This includes support costs for students under certain circumstances, funding through the Prince's Trust, and adjustments to ILR funding errors that have been identified. These are described in more detail in the EAS guidance document. Use this video alongside the guidance found on gov.uk, shown on screen, to assess whether you have data to submit through the EAS. To create your EAS file, you must adhere to our file structure. You must enter a single row of column headers at the top of your EAS file. There must be 5 columns, in the order laid out on screen. Files with incorrect column headers will fail validation, and we will reject your file. Each row of data below the column headers represents a claim for a unique combination of funding line, adjustment type, calendar year, and calendar month. A funding line represents the type of learning program you are claiming funding for. For example, 16 to 18 apprenticeships, or the adult education budget. You must have a contract agreed with us for the funding line you are claiming funding for. An adjustment type is the type of cost incurred which you are claiming funding for. For example, excess learning support or learner support. You must ensure the adjustment type you are claiming for is valid for the funding line you are claiming it against. You can find a full list of the adjustment types that can be claimed for and which funding lines they can be claimed against in the EAS guidance and the EAS example file found on gov.uk. The calendar year and month represent the period when the cost you are claiming for was incurred, not the current month and year. The value field represents the actual costs, not the forecasted costs, that you are claiming funding for. Once you have created the structure for your file, you will need to populate it with at least one row of data to claim funding. Each row represents a cost incurred at a point in time represented by the calendar year and month, for a type of expense represented by the adjustment type, and against a type of learning delivery represented by the funding line. Funding line and adjustment type are both case sensitive, and the values must be entered exactly as they are written in the EAS guidance and the EAS example file found on gov.uk. You cannot claim the same combination of funding line and adjustment type twice in the same month. You must enter calendar year and calendar month in numerical date format as shown. The year and month combination must fall within the current funding year, starting from the 1st of August, and must not be in the future. For example, I cannot submit a claim for funding in January 2019 during November 2018. This field must only contain a number with up to 2 decimal places. If you need to submit subsequent EAS files for funding claims later in the year, ensure that you add rows of data to your existing EAS file. All the rows of your EAS file represent the total funding you are claiming in this funding year. If funding you have claimed for a previous month does not appear in an EAS file within the same funding year, it will be assumed that you have taken action to remove these claims to correct your data, and any funding you have been paid may be taken back from you. After you have populated your file, you will need to save it according to our naming conventions. The earnings adjustment statement must be a comma-separated value CSV file. You can create a CSV file in Excel. When saving your file, click Save As and select comma-separated value file as the file type. The file name must follow our strict naming conventions, as shown on screen now. EAS data, short hyphen, your UKPRN, Short hyphen, the year, month, and day that the file was created in numerical date format. Short hyphen, the hour, minute, and second that the file was created. .csv. The file name is case sensitive and must be capitalized. The date and time must not be set to a date and time greater than the time you submit your file, or we will reject your file. The date and time must be greater than any previous EAS file that you have submitted, or we will reject your file. How to submit your EAS file. You must submit your EAS file through the hub, shown on screen and accessible via the address shown at the bottom of the screen. To submit an EAS file, you will need to sign in to your hub account using the Sign In button at the top right of this page. Once you have logged in, you must click on the Data Returns tab. This will take you to the Active Data Returns tab, shown on screen now. Here each collection open to you will be displayed. To submit an EAS for the 18-19 funding year, you must click on the 18-19 EAS hyperlink from the collection name column. You will then see the following screen. You will only see information in the Recent Submission and Reports section if you have already submitted data for this return period. To submit data, you must first click the Add File button, found at the top right of the page. You will then be presented with the following screen. You must click Choose File and browse to the file you wish to submit as your EAS for this return period. You must ensure this is saved as a CSV file type, following the naming and format conventions covered by this video and the EAS guidance document, or your submission will fail. When you have selected the correct file, click Upload and Submit. This will return you to the screen shown now for the 18-19 EAS submission for this return period. Click the blue Submit button on the right-hand side of this page to complete your submission. You can track the progress of your submission on this screen by observing the detail in the Status column for your most recent submission. The status must show Submitted as the topmost entry to have successfully submitted data to the hub. Where this is not the case, the submission may be ongoing. This process may take some time. Should the field show Job Failed, no data will be uploaded to the hub. To receive funding, you will need to amend any errors in the file and resubmit following the process outlined in this video. It is advisable to check the EAS Rule Violation Report for your submission, found in the Reports section of this page, regardless of whether your submission is successful or not, as there may be some data that was not accepted. To ensure you are correctly paid for all the funding you expect through your claim, review this report violation file alongside the validation rules to ensure your data is formatted correctly, that your data is valid, and then resubmit as necessary. There is no limit to how many submissions you may make in a return period. To ensure you are paid on time for your claims, please submit an EAS for a return period prior to the closing date for that return period. You can submit data for a funding year at any point up until the close of Return 14 in mid-October. But following this, no amendments can be made to your EAS claims for the funding year in question. Thank you for watching this video. Further helpful links can be found on gov.uk by searching for Earnings Adjustment Statement.